Let's come back to some MLS adjacent U.S. men's national team related news. All right, couple of things. Number one, the Kansas City Star from Sam McDowell has an interview with Peter Ramiz in which Peter says, yeah, U.S. Soccer texted me, and then I got on a phone call, and then they started giving me a pitch, and I was like, nope, not interested. I'm staying at Kansas City because he just signed a new contract.
Wait, U.S. Soccer talked to him or Sportsology?
Sorry, You're right. I should be specific. Sportsology reached out. Now, in the original piece before Sam kind of adjusted it, edited it a bit, it wasn't really clear. It kind of made it seem like they were trying to get Peter to talk about the coaching job. He then clarified that Peter clarified he wasn't going to discuss which job. I think they reached out for the sporting director job because there's no reason to do the coaching
It probably does make more
stuff.
sense. You know, like he does know the American system, the American player. He's been around forever. He's connected. I think there's a reason. Is he the most longest serving GM and coach? Like he's done both
at both in the league. Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
I think so. Yeah, so I think there's value to that. I think getting him out of where he's comfortable was always going to be hard, though. There's a reason why he's been there so long. He likes that job. He likes that gig. Plus, if he has to move to Chicago, who wants to do that?
Yeah, he's the institution. I think he's comfortable. He's settled. I mean, he's by no means an old guy, but I think he's been there so long that at this point, it's just like, yeah, I'm a Kansas City guy. I'm a lifer for this. The other news is that
by the way,
Tanner,
I just want to correct this, and Kai said this in the chat. Ernie Stewart said no one's been contacted. That was for coach. No one's been contacted.
That was for coach, and Ernie Stewart said that in that interview that he did with, was it the Brian Strauss one or the Henry Bushnell one? One of the two.
I don't remember.
Maybe both. Because Ernie got out there, which we haven't talked about that since we haven't been on since those came out. Ernie getting out there is kind of interesting. It feels like he's kind of doing U.S. Soccer a solid by kind of tilting the narrative a little bit and trying to shine some positive light. Now,
someone needs to.
It's okay. He's not going to badmouth U.S. Soccer, obviously.
At some point he may need to come back. You know.
Well, maybe, but I just think in general he likes the people there. He likes being.
No, there's
part
a
of
legacy
US
thing
soccer.
too. He doesn't. I mean, his legacy is taking a hit like down the stretch here. You know, and I know he's got a greener pastures as a PSV, I believe that he's with now. So. He's onto a good gig, and I think that if he succeeds there, he doesn't want this thing in the rearview mirror, something that could potentially hold him back. If he doesn't succeed at PSV, that's 2 failures in a row, and I don't think he wants that look.
I don't think it's just some selfish thing. I think Ernie Stewart is just he's an institution guy, and he just isn't going to badmouth U.S. Soccer. Sees this as a long-term quest to get the United States to the top of the mountain, and he said. He also said things like, I hope that the next person doesn't come in and change everything. I think we need continuity. Of course he's going to say that. As you said, that's his legacy. That's
from your mouth to Thierry Henry's ears.
He doesn't want to see it all torn down. The other news, Pablo Maurer reporting today that Philadelphia Union sporting director Ernst Tanner was approached by the U.S. Soccer Federation. And this is how Pablo writes it. Now, it also could be Sportsology, but he says U.S. Soccer Federation in regards to their vacant sporting director position. Multiple sources familiar with the situation told The Athletic. Tanner, those sources said, declined to pursue the position.
Now, this one is where they should back up the truck. Like, come on, dude. This guy has built Philly up in a way that the U.S. needs to be built.
I suggested him as a candidate. It made sense to me that he would be in the mix. I'm not surprised he said no. I don't think that necessarily means anything about the attractiveness of the job either. I mean, Ernst Tanner's a guy who could pick up and go back to Europe at any moment, too.
Could you imagine if they put Ernst Tanner in there and then Jim Curtin as well?
Well, I don't. There certainly would be a segment of the fan base who would cry bloody murder over that.
But here's the thing, dude. Philly's just doing so much right that it's just like, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. They're building the right way. And you can say the same thing about Dallas in some respects as well. Like, there's 2 factories. And for the U.S. right now, I think that's something important. We have a nice run of players developing into European level players. And I think you got to keep that going. You got to keep engaged in that base, that youth base and that development base. And Ernst Tanner seems to get it.
I do think that a club job is so fundamentally different than a national team job, though, or overseeing 2 national teams in this case with the sporting director thing, that I don't know. I don't know if they really lined up exactly right. I mean, I trust that Ernst Tanner would do a good job with the national team program. I'm just saying that I don't know that what he did in Philadelphia necessarily comes right over to what U.S. Soccer would want to do. By the way,
pick your poison.
Pablo did clarify at another point in this story that both Tanner and Vermees were contacted by Sportsology. So this is Sportsology doing work on behalf of U.S. Soccer. What do you got?
They're out. Yeah, pick your poison from the chat. This one from Steve Hidalgo. Pick your poison, Tanner or Lagerwey. Assuming they would say yes.
Yeah, right. I think I would go Lagerwey. It's pretty close.
I think I'm going to take Tanner because Lagerwey's success is so often in the players he has bought, not the players he's built.
But
he's a great eye for talent, a fantastic eye for talent. But Tanner's is different. It's built instead of bought.
Well, so I think part of
and
this
at the
is
U.S. national team level, you don't get to go grab players.
What is the sporting director doing that's going to directly impact what you care about, which is the performance of the U.S. men's and women's national teams?
I think he's setting the tone for what the theme of the program is.
Okay, when you say setting a tone, what does that mean?
Identifying a playing style that we're trying to build into. And then pushing that at the lower youth level so that they are developed in a manner that right now our playing style is dependent on the coach. We don't have an American playing style. And I think that's something that you hear about a lot that people want to move towards is what does the American game look like?
Okay, so you're advocating to hire a sporting director who has a clear vision of how everybody in the program should play and then institutes that from the youth teams all the way up to the senior team.
I don't think it has to be super rigid, but there needs to be an identity there.
And you don't think Ernie Stewart had anything to do with the U.S. identity under Greg Berhalter?
I don't know if he had enough time, to be honest with you.
I think Ernie Stewart picked Greg Berhalter because he wanted his team, he wanted the national team, the men in this case, to play like Greg Berhalter wants them to play. I think that it's 1 + 1 = Greg Berhalter.
But is that how we want to go forward?
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
So you're taking Lagerwey then, okay.
If you advocate for Garth Lagerwey or Ernst Tanner, are we advocating?
What is the benefits of Garth Lagerwey as a national team sporting director? What does he bring? What does Garth Lagerwey bring? Do you think would be good for that position?
I mean, I think Lagerwey's sort of institutional knowledge of American soccer is probably a little bit deeper than Ernst Tanner's. Not that Tanner hasn't picked up a lot since he's been in Philadelphia, but Garth Lagerwey played in MLS and he came up through the system and he knows all these guys.
I'll give you one thing. He's won wherever he's gone.
I don't know if again, we're talking about also that issue of the fraternity or the clubby feeling of all of this, and maybe you want to get away from that. I don't know, how close
I'll give you one thing that works against what I was just saying in picking Ernst Tanner. But I just told you Garth Lagerwey has been great when he's been able to select someone and bring someone in. That's exactly what has to be done for the coach.
Yeah. I mean, this is not managing the MLS salary budget with the national team. That's not a thing, right? So it's something different. It's I don't even know, without sort of seeing resumes or seeing pitch decks or PowerPoints or whatever it is that they would do in order to present themselves as candidates for the job, I don't know that you could judge. Honestly, you can pick one and say, well, I trust Garth Lagerwey more than Ernst Tanner, or vice versa, or Peter Vermees, or I don't know.
Vermees or Lagerwey for you?
Chris Klein, let's go.
Please take him.
Peter Vermees or Lagerwey? Man, that one's tough. As sporting director?
Lagerwey's the sexier pick, but Vermees really, really understands the American game.
I think it's Vermees. I think it's Vermees over Lagerwey for me. I think Vermees. I don't know. There's something about the way that Peter Vermees carries himself that I just trust.
These are our top 3 American, right? Who's next? If they're all saying no,
well, okay,
who are we left with?
Would you accept Bruce as sporting director?
I'll give you a name
for it.
No, I don't think so. I think we need to move on for that. The whole point is to move on. I'll give you a name, John Thornton.
Okay, I could see that. I don't think he's going to leave L.A., but I can see it. I can see that as a decent option. Chris Henderson, pry him out of Miami. Bring Chris Henderson up and have him do it. I trust Chris Henderson to do it.
I can see it. I would prefer, I think, Thornton between those two. I mean, honestly, like I said, I've said this before in the show.
I'm just
4 months ago, I would have said
I'm
Claudio
not even
Reyna.
making binary choices. I'm just presenting candidates because apparently Sportsology is striking out left and right over here.
Yeah,
everybody they're contacting is saying no. So I don't know.
At some point, that starts getting worrisome. That's actually really worrisome.
So do you think this has to be somebody? I mean, this is also kind of drilling down. Obviously, Peter Vermees has been wearing 2 hats in Kansas City for a long time. He is a coach, but he's also an executive. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the person here, because Ernie Stewart was never a coach. Ernie never coached. He was never on a sideline running a team. Do you think that this sporting director needs to be somebody who lives in that executive world and has been there for a long time?
Yeah, I think so. It takes a level of refinement and I think a professionalism that you can't wear a training kit on every day to work.
I was going to say shorts. I had somebody in mind. I was going to say, I wonder if they could wear shorts to the sporting director's office.
No, I think it is important to have someone at that level. I mean,
yeah, you're probably right.
Is there a Tim Lewicki kind of person? Like, is Tim Lewicki a good person for this?
No, I don't think Tim. I
think he's trying to go hire an executive at the private sector.
I think he's the business guy, right? I mean, he's a soccer guy. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's a business guy.
SUM be happy,
man. I don't know. We're just coming up zeros. I think for the most part.
Yeah, it's a tough. Sportsology is in a tough position right now.
Just calling everybody, sending text about you up. You want to talk about the U.S. soccer sporting director job?
And everyone's like, "Nope, you ugly."
New number. Who dis?
Blocking numbers all over the place. You think that maybe Ernst Standard just flat out blocked their number? Get out of here with that. All right. We are up against
At what point? How far down do you get before Claudio Reyna becomes a viable candidate?
No, never.
Never. You would want Chris Klein before Claudio Reyna.
Oh man, you want? That's like the worst possible thing. It's a literal.
The little pick your poison. Yeah, it's Novocaine powder.
It's Claudio before Chris.
It is, and that's the craziness. It is.
It's like this. It's like Claudio before Chris, man. Oh, I hope not. All right.